Get one for $1.
Cousins looks to the middle of the field. And he's already run for a first down. Can he run for another one? Can he run for a touchdown? Diving to the end zone. That's a Viking touchdown. Kirk Cousins. Murray's throwing deep. Robbie Anderson way short and intercepted. Harrison Smith. Cousins throw. End zone. KJ Osborne. Touchdown Vikings.
Vikings Game Day Live is presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Right side 3. 1, 2, 3. 20, 15, 10. Touchdown!
You're watching Vikings Game Day Live.
And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Vikings Game Day Live as we take a look at FedEx Field in Washington, D.C. as the first-place Minnesota Vikings, riding a 5-game winning streak, try to go to 7-1, facing a suddenly hot Washington Commanders team right here at FedEx Field. Kickoff at noon right here on Fox 9. Good morning, everyone. Mark Rosen along with Ron Johnson will be checking in with Don Mitchell, Pete Bursich, Ben Lieber, Tatum Everett, Gabe Henderson, cast of thousands as always. Ron, good to see you. Good morning to you.
Good to see you.
Hard to figure what this game, like, I mean, we know it's probably going to go down the wire. That's probably a given what we've seen this year, which is okay given how the Vikings have played. But let's talk about what's transpired this week at the trade deadline. The Vikings acquiring a big-name tight end. Irv Smith Jr. went down with an injury likely to sideline him for the season. T.J. Hockenson from the Detroit Lions, Iowa kid, comes up here. What'd you make of the deal? What'd you think the signal to the locker room? How is he going to be utilized today and going forward?
Yeah, well, we know, I talked about this over and over and over again, that they were going to try to get a tight end at some point. Could have been from the NFC West. I thought Arizona Cardinals maybe, because they have a couple different tight ends over there. Maybe they're I think they're the Vegas Raiders. Right. With Darren Waller, because of what their situation looks like. They're not doing well with Devontae Adams and him in the same locker room. And then the Irv Smith injury, I didn't think, if he doesn't get hurt, I don't know if they make that move. And that's the question. Yeah. But now that they made the move, sometimes injury actually brings on somebody's great career. Not to say he's Tom Brady, but if Tom Brady doesn't have a quarterback in front of him get hurt, he doesn't get to play the way he's played. And so I think that's the key. T.J. Hockenson is now a Viking. The tight end position, I think Kevin O'Connell said Tuesday at 10 p.m. they started working with him on the offense, how to get him acclimated to this offense. It's easy to get the tight end because there's a letter associated with every route with the tight end, which is Y. And when you go Y shallow, Y over, you can call your normal plays and just tag the tight end every single time this week just to help him out. So he knows Y out, Y over, Y go, Y seam, Y slant. That's all he just needs to know.
So what you're saying is expect to see a lot of him today. This is not going to be a ramp-up situation that's going to take him weeks.
Yeah, I think the run game is probably the toughest, but the tackles can talk to each other. They can help him understand what they're blocking, come out the huddle. Hey, we're in the zone scheme. These two guys are our guys. Hey, we're going to double team this guy. You leave, blah, blah. They can talk to him in the run game. In the pass game, it's all about tagging them.
What does Hockenson bring to this team that they've been lacking?
Well, you look at Yak. He's the number 2 tight end in the NFL right now for Yak, 215 yards after the catch. Yep. You look at, and after contact as well. You look at the big run against, I forgot who he scored against, but he had a long run earlier in the season. He's the most explosive tight end in that room now, walking into the building, and he's done nothing. In the red zone, he's a big body. So now with Justin Jefferson, starts off early and fast in the season, he doesn't do much later on because teams start to figure it out. Well, if you double Justin Jefferson, now you have to single T.J. Hockenson. You split him out wide. He's a tough man to cover one-on-one in the red zone.
The Vikings made the deal with a divisional opponent, with the Detroit Lions. The Bears, kind of interesting. They were both sellers and buyers. The Packers sat on their hands. So.
And they tried, though. They tried.
They
tried to get, they said they tried to get Darren Waller, and they tried to get Chase Claypool, and it just didn't work out for them. God bless you. I'm glad it happened this way. The Bears, I'm happy for them because I think this is what Justin Fields needs in order to get better, is a guy like Claypool who he can have an outlet, a true just throw it up in the red zone. Because Justin Fields looks like he's confused sometimes, looks like he doesn't have a guy open. Now he has Chase Claypool, and Claypool wants to get another shot because he kind of fell off this year a little bit after losing Juju.
Kind of confusing what the Bears are doing because they got rid of their 2 best defensive players.
They said they were going to build. I had a source that told me they're building around Justin Fields. So I think that was the start of it. They're going to not get rid of, but but get rid of some of these big contracts on defense, bring in some offensive guys to help Justin Fields out to see if he's their guy long term.
Well, let's set the scene down in FedEx Field, Washington, D.C., where Don Mitchell's playing hurt a little bit this morning. I know, Don. I know what it's like when you have a little laryngitis, but you're a trooper. I know you can get through this.
Hello, gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying the show.
We got it. Okay, your voice is a game time decision. I understand. I know you feel great. I've been there, done that. Can you say much of anything?
Well, the rain has gone away. I just saw Scott Turner, former Viking, now the offensive coordinator, and he thinks Taylor Heineke is ready. Of course, he would say that, being the offensive coordinator. But you talked about Hockenson, and we have heard that he will be used creatively and often today. So, Ron, I agree with you. They're not going to ease him into this game plan whatsoever. They're definitely going to use him. And let me tell you, they're not afraid to pull some tricks out of the hat. So it will be interesting to see how he performs. He will perform much better in his first game with the Vikings than I will be performing today. I can tell you that for sure. However, the Vikings, they gave me my whiteboard that they have me with tea. I'm feeling 100%. I'm just hoping that Delta finds my voice because I lost it on the plane. I have my luggage, not the voice.
We get it, Don. You're a pro's pro, and we understand. I've been there, like I said. You keep hitting that hot tea and whatever else you can do right now. I feel for you. But she was talking about Taylor Heineke, the former Viking, who's playing quarterback, of course, for Washington. Kirk Cousins going back to Washington, along with Kevin O'Connell, who spent some time there as well. But what I want to talk about with you right now, Ron Johnson, is this stretch of games for the Vikings, and looking at not just today against Washington, but going forward. Look at the next 4 games after this. Of course, at Buffalo next Sunday, arguably the #1 team along with Philadelphia in the NFL. Dallas at home, that's a great week, Thanksgiving week. The Dallas Cowboys in a 3:35 game. And then they play the New England Patriots at home on Thanksgiving night. Man, that's going to be a party. And then the New York Jets going into December, also a home game. So 3 of those next 4 are at home. But breaking them down, I mean, it starts with Buffalo. You want a measuring stick, that's going to be in a week from Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Buffalo Bills, you look at the game they played against the Packers, I think that was a true indication of what this team is. And early on, they set up Stephon Diggs by going at Gabe Davis a bunch. Josh Allen ran the ball. This team is, like, from top to bottom, they are a well-oiled machine. Leslie Frazier has that defense playing well. They do a lot of stuff to try to confuse the quarterback. You saw Aaron Rodgers completely stifled, too. And so I think that's the key for this team. Adding T.J. Hockenson, I think it's going to be a good addition for the Vikings because that's where the Bills, their linebackers, are questionable in coverage, and that's where I'm looking forward to seeing.
Well, the Bills are a machine, no doubt about it. They play the Jets today on the road, so that's going to be a big rivalry game for them. But Josh Allen is fearless. I remember seeing one of his first games here against the Vikings. I said, who is this kid? Man, he's been ascending, and they're looking at a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was questioning him. You know, what is he going to be as good as they say he is? You know, you drafted him early. Was it worth the pick? Well, he's worth the pick, and he got Stephon Diggs. I think we've continued to harp on that, but Stephon Diggs makes that offense what it is. You saw that one-on-one route right there. He had a blade of grass before he almost stepped out of bounds, ran a go route. Josh Allen throws a perfect ball, and Diggs falls to the ground to catch in the end zone. And that's with a double coverage safety over the top, just assuming he's not going to make that throw. Josh Allen makes every throw. So Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum can never think, oh, it's too tight of a window. He's going to throw it. And so that's why I think it's going to be a matchup between Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum versus Josh Allen. How do we give him looks to make him think he can't make the throw? If he makes the throw, we got to pick this thing off.
The Vikings, do you feel the Vikings have a lot to prove against these quality opponents in order to be in that conversation with the elite teams? They are record-wise right now. But when you play that stretch and you got at Buffalo, Dallas, New England, still Belichick team, and the Jets at home, is that going to be the ultimate kind of litmus test this season? Because after that, the schedule kind of eases up on paper again for them.
Yeah, I had them going 2-2 on that stretch, or 3-1 even. If they can go 2-2, though, they cannot lose 3 of those games. That's the key. 2-2, I think you're still fine. You end up being 8-3. It's not a bad way to go. Or, sorry, more than that, because you're going to win today. 9-3. So it ends up being a really good 9-3 team. You just need 3 more wins down the stretch to get to 12, and you're the NFC North champion. But I was on the Pat McAfee show this week, and Pat McAfee and I and Darius Butler, we talked about this, that nobody really has confidence in Kirk Cousins in prime time. And so he's going to get that opportunity against the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to get that opportunity against the New England Patriots to have 2 back-to-back primetime games. And like Pat McAfee likes to call him, good old Kirky is going to get the show if he's created what he thinks he's created with Kevin O'Connell, which is a great offense.
We saw how emotional Patrick Peterson was playing against his old team, the Arizona, last week. Kirk has been downplaying going back to Washington all week long. How big a deal is it? Not many players remain on that team. Obviously, the coaching staff is different as far as playing his first game at FedEx Field.
Yeah, I had one of his teammates on my show, on the Ron Johnson show on my podcast, Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon talked about Kirk Cousins in the "you like that" moment. He said he was there for it. They were all in the locker room, and they heard it, and they all were like, wait, what just happened? And they said Kirk played up to it. He enjoyed it. They made fun of him. They were like, did you really just do that? But then he said Kirk played up to it. He owned up to it. They understood that was emotional Kirk. That was a Kirk that said, you don't trust me, so screw you. Do you like that? And that's why I love Kevin O'Connell saying, I do like that. Yeah. I do like that. Like, I love that Kevin O'Connell is playing into this Kirk Cousins. The tuck T-shirt into the pants is going to become a Halloween costume next year for little kids. And so that's what's good about this team. And yes, you're going back to a team that did not want to extend you. They franchised him twice. It's not a slap in the face because it was like $44 million. But he wanted a long-term contract. The Washington football team, we know what their name was at the time, did not want to give it to him. So yes, he wants to go back there and stick it to him and say, do you really like that now? Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for, because he's going to say that today. Well, it's coming. If he has a big play or wins the game, he's going to have a you like that moment.
Well, another former Viking quarterback, Taylor Heineke, will be playing for Washington as well. We're going to, Tatum Everett sat down with Kirk this week. We're going to catch her interview. We'll talk to Tatum live from Washington as well. And we'll be hearing about Taylor Heineke. So stay with us here on Vikings Game Day Live.
This is Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
It's one of those games where KO got me going early, setting the standard what type of day it was going to be. So just having to stick with it all game and finding some plays and being more consistent. I think that's what we hunt right now, that consistency as a whole team. And I think once we find that, we'll be good.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook had a big game against Arizona last week, rushing for 111 yards. Mark Rosen back with Ron Johnson, and just what the doctor ordered. He's been knocking on the door, over 90 here, there, and everywhere. But Kevin O'Connell made a point of saying, he deserves a game ball. This is what we need from him to balance our offense.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook is not going to be a 30, 35 carry back anymore, which I think is great. When you think about this team is destined for the playoffs. Every year it was always Dalvin Cook heading to the playoffs was limping, or headed to the end of the season was limping. This way they're doing it 2-1, which he gets 2 series in, Madison gets 1, and they're kind of just, it's not even like who's hot. It's just, this is how we're doing it. It's been working because he's still healthy. He's not injured. And then he does get his 20 carries, 111 yards, had a 30-yard burst. So this is the key, knowing, okay, we can do it if we need to do it. But, hey, if we need to just throw the ball to T.J. Hockenson today or Justin Jefferson, we'll win that way as well.
That was a nice burst right there on that run. I think if he had cut to the sidelines, he may have seen the end zone in that play.
Yeah, with his speed, that definitely was a touchdown to the right. But again, vision, anybody's ever played Madden from the running back vision standpoint, it's hard to see everything. You watch it back on film. I know he watched it back on film later, like, dang, if I just went right, I had it.
How vulnerable is Washington's run defense today?
They're if you look at overall, their stats as far as run defense goes, they've given up, 120 yards per game. In the pass game as well, they've given up 214 yards. But their turnover ratio is the key. They're not getting turnovers. They're -4 in the turnover rate, which is 26 in the NFL. So at the end of the day, you have to give what the defense is giving you, and their defense is going to try to stop Justin Jefferson. So I think if it's there, run the ball. If the box only has 4 to 5 guys, run the ball. If they're trying to walk down to safety late, it's too late. Run the ball, and that's the key. But if they do put 8 in the box or 7 in the box, and they're like, hey, we're not going to let you just run the ball down the throat, then you go to your tight end, then you go to Justin Jefferson. But I think most teams coming out, they want to stop Justin Jefferson.
Again, as we talked about in the first section, the add-on with Hockenson adds to the flavor a little bit of what Kevin O'Connell can do with his playbook. And having Dalvin Cook maybe even be an X factor a little bit more, because now they got to really pay attention to that tight end going downfield and may open up some holes for Dalvin or catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah, Irv had a lot of plays this year that he did not make the play, and we talked about that a couple of times. So now T.J. Hockenson is going to get those same opportunities, that go route, that slant and go from a tight end perspective, that sluggo seam where the tight end is the big seam up the middle to put the pressure on the 2 safeties. So I think that's going to be the key. Now is you got a 6'6", 6'5"-ish frame guy with a long catch radius. Now that seam looks a lot different. Irv's only about 6'2", 6'3". You add 2 to 3 inches to that plus the arm length. It's a different vision in ball when you're throwing it up the seam, because the 2 safeties are on the hashes. You have to split that middle. Now you can actually see over that linebacker to make that throw.
We knew this was going to be a work in progress. We're talking about the 3-4 Vikings defense as the season started, and it looked like it was, and it was. What have you seen from it? What did you see against Arizona, chasing Kyler Murray around U.S. Bank Stadium last week? And they did produce some turnovers.
I'm seeing a guy as Darius Smith who's extremely comfortable. He played in the 3-4 with the Ravens. He played in the 3-4 with the Packers. He has Mike Pettin here, who's from the Packers as well. He is comfortable. Danielle Hunter, on the other hand, has to learn how to get pressure from a stand-up 2-point stance, because he's not getting it now. They can go back to a hybrid look where he puts his hand in the ground, even though he's a linebacker, just say, screw it, I'm going to put my hand in the ground. But they kept Kyler Murray in the pocket. I think that was the key. And then when they felt it collapse, nobody got overexcited to say, I'm going to jump around. You saw DJ Wonnum right there. He could have easily jumped around and tried to get the sack, but that was just, hey, I'm going to keep Kyler Murray in there because I know Zadarius Smith's coming.
Now, no Dalvin Tomlinson today, so we'll talk about that as the show progresses here and what that's going to mean to the Vikings defense. They obviously love to have him well-rested, well-healed for Buffalo next week, but it doesn't look like he's going to play today.
Yeah, and that gives this Ed Donatel defense a chance to try something different. We saw Mike Zimmer do this with Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter, put them inside. Every once in a while, kick Danielle in, let him be a 3-tech, and then bring in DJ Wonnum as your outside linebacker and see what happens. Like, especially if you know it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, you don't need to have a guy in there like that. If it's even 2nd and 10, I think Danielle Hunter's fine inside on guards and tackles in the run game. So try it. Let him put his hand in the ground and see what you get out of it. I don't know, though. We don't know what's going to happen. They have backup D linemen, so they'll be in there.
As everyone predicted last week that it would be Kirk Cousins, not Kyler Murray, running 19 yards for a touchdown. We go to Tandem Everett in Washington, D.C. with more on the Vikings quarterback and and what's in his arsenal today,
Good
Tatum?
morning, guys. Kirk Cousins spent 6 seasons here in Washington. He said it was going to be a flood of memories as he comes through. I watched him run across the field just next to me, and I know this means a lot to him. Now, heading into it, maybe it's more about the win and less about the return to Washington, which he doesn't really make a big deal. But when it comes down to it, the last time Kirk Cousins faced his former team, he was 23 of 26 on the way to a 19-9 victory. I got a chance to sit down with Kirk earlier this week to talk about what this moment means to him. I can hear you before you see you. A 5-game win streak, a 6-1 start. When this new front office and head coaching staff got here and established themselves, was this a foreseeable start for you guys?
You certainly hope so. 6-1 is a great place to be. It's a difficult place to get to. It doesn't just happen.
We just keep grinding and finding a way to get a W, and we'll see where we are at the end of this thing.
I knew we had a good football team. I knew whoever our organization hired was going to be inheriting a good locker room, some talented players, and we just needed to find the inches to turn some close losses in previous years into wins. And 7 games in, we've been able to do that, and they certainly have been close games, but great to find a way at the end to pull them out.
And the Minnesota Vikings are going to leave fans intoxicatingly happy.
It was another game coming down to the last drive, but I want to talk about that opening drive that ended with your 17-yard touchdown run.
Kirk steps up, sprints out to the right, turns it 15-10, 5, touchdown! Kirk Cousins with a 17-yard rushing touchdown.
Patrick Peterson called you Kirk Jackson. Dalvin Cook said, Lamar who, we've got the real number 8. And then Garrett Bradbury said it was the greatest thing he ever saw.
Yeah.
When your teammates say stuff like that, how does that make you feel about your rushing game?
Yeah, well, maybe I need to tap into it more. A lot of hyperbole there, but it's fun to, see how it gets everybody excited and fired up. And in all seriousness, maybe it does need to become a little bit bigger part of my game or part of our offense. And I think when you do run, it makes defenses think twice about how they defend you when they have to be aware of you leaving the pocket and using your legs.
I know the coaches showed you the video of last year's run against the Cardinals leading up to this game.
Kirk steps up in the pocket. He'll run. Yes, Kirk! That is the longest run of Kirk Cousins' career.
You reached 19+ miles an hour.
Yeah, barely got 19.
You almost got to it this time around.
I think 19 is my ceiling. I think that 20 is out of reach, it's untouchable.
I spoke to Christian Darrisaw, your left tackle, a few weeks ago, and he spoke about your demeanor in the locker room, how he feels like there's just been a difference. It's come alive, so to say. Why do you think you feel maybe more comfortable with this year's locker room?
I really think winning is the difference. When you win 6 out of 7 games, it makes Wednesdays a little more lighthearted, Thursdays a little more lighthearted. You're just a little more comfortable, and I think that reflects then in the way you're able to really enjoy it.
Heading back to Washington this week, where you started your NFL career, spent 6 seasons, how are you feeling?
There will be a lot of memories that flood back when we touch down there, when we bus to the stadium, going out for warm-ups, playing in the game, certainly 6 years. But I arrived in Washington as a 23-year-old with no concept of pro football, really no concept of what it means to be on your own and be an adult. I was a college kid when I arrived in Washington, D.C., and 6 years later when I left, I was married, I had a son, and you really were a grown-up at that point, almost 30 years old. So I think that's a big part of it, is just the growth that took place over those 6 years and learning what it meant to not only be a husband and a father, but learning what it meant to be a great pro quarterback and what that takes. And there were highs and lows to get there, but I'm just so grateful. That's where my career started. I think that's something that I look back on and feel that being coached by the people I was coached by, including Kevin, was just a tremendous blessing.
Plenty of memories here in FedEx Field. However, Kirk wants to add one more to the memory bank, and that's a win today against his former team, the Commanders, and get these Vikings out to a historic 7-1 start.
All right, thanks, Tatum. Great perspective. Great talk with Kirk Cousins this week, back with Ron Johnson. And, you know it means something extra to him. You can, I mean, of course, he's got to concentrate on play after play after play. But when the game is over, if the Vikings come away with the victory, he's going to be able to look back on it and say, this is where my career started. It's not a revenge game, I don't think, as much as just solidifying where he is right now in his career.
Yeah, no, it's a totally different, team, regime. You think about the staff that he played under is not there. I mean, his coach, one of his coaches there is now his head coach, Kevin O'Connell. The owner might not even be the owner much longer. So it's a totally different thing. The name's not even the same. But those memories of how he felt, I don't care what you've gone through, how many counselors you've talked to, you never forget how a certain team, a person, an area made you feel. He felt great because he got drafted, or, he got picked up there. He had the opportunity to play. He had to start, and then now all of a sudden, franchise, and the Vikings offer him a big contract. So he's going to have those minutes. The same way Patrick Peterson did the Billy White Shoes Johnson after the Harrison Smith interception. Like Kirk Cousins definitely is feeling the emotion, feeling the energy. I just hope he doesn't try to do too much. Don't play outside of your skin. Just be who you are. Be Kirk. Keep tucking your T-shirt and your sweatpants. But have fun, get the ball to your playmakers, because now you add T.J. Hockenson with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, K.J. Osborne, and Dalvin Cook. That's a dangerous room.
One of my favorite quarterbacks I covered here, my time with doing my TV career, was Brad Johnson, and he took off on a run, much like Kirk Cousins. And I remember I said, Brad, what were you thinking? He goes, run, Forrest, run. That's what I sort of felt like when I was watching Kirk Cousins last week. Run, Forrest, run. If it's open, go for it. It opens up that offense. Hey, Ron, let's talk about the Fox Bet Super 6, because this is a lot of fun for the fans to participate in as well. There's some really, as always, some very intriguing games today. Let's talk about the struggling, the first one, the LA Chargers playing against an Atlanta Falcons team that's really good at running the football. I kind of like Atlanta in this one. The Chargers are struggling. They need this game desperately, but they're not the same team we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, the Falcons with the win, they take hold of the NFC South, which is even weird to say. But the Falcons, I think Cordero Patterson, I saw he's back, so who knows how much he's going to get. But you're right. The run game, his ability to be a game changer and just be a difference maker. I got the Falcons +3.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers, saddle up again. The Packers playing at Detroit against the woebegone Lions, who can score a lot of points, but seemingly they get off to 21-7 leads every week, only to lose at the end. Do you expect Aaron Rodgers to have that kind of breakout game after all his struggles this year?
Yeah, I said on the Pat McAfee show, picking Detroit to finish second in the NFC North might have been the dumbest decision I ever made in my life. But I kind of want to pick the Lions. Like the Packers have struggled in Detroit, but I'm going to go Packers. Packers +7. The Lions, they're going to do what they do.
Yeah, they almost have to. Tonight, interesting game. The Titans, Derrick Henry against Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Interesting battle of contrast of styles there.
Yeah. So this is the thing about the Chiefs. You know what? And they're getting Kadarius Toney today. I'm gonna go Chiefs +7. I'm gonna go. I think Pat Mahomes, Kadarius Toney. You do have
by more than 7. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna go +7. I'm gonna go Kansas City +7. It's tough with Kansas City because you never know, and that run game can take the air out of a stadium with Derrick Henry. So, but I'm gonna go Chiefs +7.
All right, we'll talk more about what's going on in Washington, D.C. We'll be previewing the Commanders. We've got Pete Bursich. We've got Ben Lieber. We've got all sorts of people coming up. So stay with us right here on Vikings Game Day Live.
down there. In here.
Welcome back to Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Mark Rosen along with Ron Johnson. We are live at TCO Performance Center. The Vikings getting ready to kick off against the Washington Commanders at noon at FedEx Stadium. And speaking of the Commanders, they were supposed to, Ron, be one of the worst teams in the league. Started out pretty shaky. In fact, they lost to the Lions. But they've won 3 in a row. Not convincingly. They beat the Colts 17-16. They beat the Packers. You keep that in mind. And then they also beat the Bears when the Bear thing muffed the punt at the end and gave the Commanders a chance to win 12-7. So Taylor Heineke is the quarterback. Remember Carson Wentz? That didn't work out real well. So what do you expect from them today? Heineke's kind of a wild card.
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor Heineke, what you're seeing is a guy like Case Keenum. He's coming in playing with house money. He has nothing to lose by playing fast, free, and loose. And, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to have a Case Keenum season where they're going to have a DMV miracle. But Taylor Heineke, I mean, Ron Rivera said this early. He questioned quarterback play and said every team that's doing well has a good quarterback. And everybody thought he was taking a shot at Carson Wentz. He was just taking a shot saying we haven't done a great job getting a quarterback in here that can stay long term. And now you have Taylor Heineke. I'm not saying he's their guy, but he's definitely just playing loose. He's making some throws that maybe a Carson Wentz doesn't try because he's too nervous to make a bad play, where Taylor's like, I don't care. I'm the backup. Like, I'm just going to go do this. Nobody expects me to win these games.
He may have had a chance here had he not kicked a pane of glass in with his foot, which he admits is the dumbest thing he's ever done in his life, and it cost him the season here.
Yeah, Rick James said it best. Like, alcohol is a powerful drug. Like, I mean, a sober, locked-out person probably takes a brick or calls a locksmith. I mean, he thought I'm a Daniil Hunter this thing, and he kicked the window in. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. He maybe thought he scored a touchdown or he got a sack or something. I have no idea.
They've been able to stretch the field. One thing the Vikings still looking for are more explosive plays. Washington's had those. Tell us about their wide receivers and what we can expect. I think Dotson is out, but they have some talented wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, you look at scary Terry McLaurin. I mean, that's the thing. Terry is since his days at Ohio State has been a deep threat. He's the guy to worry about today. He's the guy that can take the top off. When you look at Patrick Peterson, you look at Cam Dantzler, it's going to be a decision of, do you try to make sure you keep somebody over the top, like a safety, like a Harrison Smith or Cam Bynum, or do you just try to play a quarters coverage and say, hey, when he enters your area, he's your guy? But you have to keep your eye on McLaurin because he is an absolute weapon in that offense.
And that middle of that field has still been pretty vulnerable against the Vikings. We've seen that time and time again.
And that play there, all that was, that's what that is a corner route. So what he's doing is he's getting inside to the middle. He's forcing your safety to think, okay, I got to protect the middle of the field. Boom, he's getting back to the corner. And Taylor Heineke is throwing some good balls right now. Like,
not
he's throwing
big
a nice
name
ball.
running backs, but Brian Robinson is the kind of go-to guy right now for them.
They have two. But Brian Robinson's a guy that the biggest story, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got hurt, didn't expect to come back. But they're going to have two guys when you think about Gibson as well. They're going to have two guys in this run. It's not a run back by committee. It's kind of like the Vikings, but a little bit more like literally two running backs come in. So you have both. But these guys are also good at the screen game. So that's another piece of this puzzle is when you feel like this offensive line let you through scot-free, your antennas have to go up and understand the screen's coming. You see right here on a reverse kind of jet sweep type of play where he's coming back like a counter. Anytime you feel like a counter's coming or something, he does a great job putting his foot in the ground, getting north and south. He's not going to go east and west. He's not, these two running backs between Gibson and Robinson, they're not dancers. They're going to come and they're bringing it. And you see right here, the Packers can't tackle. I mean, what? That's 6 guys?
Unbelievable.
The Packers did not do a good job tackling.
Yeah, again, this just in, pack your lunch. This is not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. It's why the Vikings are only 3-point favorites. And as we look at the inactives, again, no surprise, the big name for the Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Tomlinson, out. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Naylor is also out, the wide receiver, but he was not likely to play anyway. So again, the injury list, and Tomlinson's obviously a big name, has really been a secret to success for the Minnesota Vikings as well. We don't see many names popping up on that list every week.
Yeah, I mean, the health of these players is predicated on the coach, too, like the staff, the coach, the trainers, how they practice, how they make sure to keep these guys rested, and also practicing like a pro, not going down to the ground, not trying to kill each other, realizing, look, we're a good team. We're going to hit in games. Don't do anything stupid in practice to hurt this team. And I think Kevin O'Connell, being closer to the age of these guys, being a little bit more in tune with these guys, talking to them, they all say, like, he's a great communicator. He's around all of them. But the training staff, I mean, the fact that the head coach and the trainers are on the same page, too, with health, nutrition, time off, we're going to not practice today. We're going to walk through. That's the key. Training
Dalvin
camp.
adding
Everybody
up.
talk about training camp. Oh, it feels like a country club. Well, look, these guys are walking into the season healthy.
Exactly. Let's go down to FedEx Field right now and talk to a couple defensive guys. I'm not on the defensive, just really defensive guys. Ben Lieber and Pete Bursich. And guys, I guess part of the discussion would be without Dalvin Tomlinson today, what do you expect, what kind of adjustments do you see this Viking defense making, if at all?
Well, good to be with you, Rose. Hope you guys are doing well. Look, we're going to get to a lot of stuff, but I want to bring in Pete here to talk a little bit about our offensive balance. Say, last week, 42% before the 2-minute drill, we ran the football. That's the highest that we've had all season long. There's a commitment to the run game, it seems like, after the bye week. Is that sort of the offensive balance that we should expect from this Vikings offense going forward?
I would certainly hope so. And, you have a weapon like Dalvin Cook and Alexander. You've got some great running backs. And you also have, in Hockenson, a better blocking tight end. He's a very good blocking tight end. But, conversely, this, Washington team has found a 5-man front. They didn't run it in the beginning of the year, but due to injury at linebacker, have been putting 5D linemen out there. A little bit better against the run, so it's kind of like, the coaches, I think, want to throw the ball a lot today. So I think O'Connell might be pinching his nose a little bit and hopefully running it a little more in a balanced way.
Yeah, that 5-man front, they've done that a lot more these last 2 weeks. And I tell you what, they are really stout up front. It's going to force us in a lot of one-on-one situations in the trenches. But if we can get past that first line of defense with Dalvin.
No, absolutely. With Dalvin or in the passing game, the one thing that these safeties do here is they squat, and I mean like 15 yards deep. So the ability to get somebody behind them is going to be there, I think, all day, especially early. If we can keep Cousins upright and give him enough time, there's going to be some big down-the-field plays available today, I really think.
Okay, let's flip it over to their offense. Listen, they are one of the worst in the league at yards per pass attempt. Yeah. But conversely, our defense is 31st in the league, giving up yards per play or per pass attempt at 7.7 yards. So how do you see that matchup, our pass defense against their pass offense?
Well, you got De'Ami Brown's coming back, and he's a speedster. McLaurin's a very good wide receiver. I don't think they trust Taylor Heineke yet to just throw the ball deep early. I think they want to ease him into games. They cut the field in half with him, meaning 3-out strong passing game. He could read deep, middle, short, and just gets rid of the football. So they keep it, I think, simple for Heineke early. They kind of open it up at the end of the game most of the time because they have to. But, they're not a big down-the-field explosive team early. So I would expect kind of the same thing today, that they're just going to dink and dunk. They're good run after the catch. And maybe, just maybe, try to exploit the middle of our passing defense.
Well, maybe that kind of answers the next question is, listen, everybody is hot on the Vikings right now, and rightfully so. We've railed off a bunch of wins. We're 6-1. But a lot of people are also kind of tempering that a little bit, saying like, well, this is going on. They're not exactly playing the best ball. As you see it, we know that our team is not infallible. We have some vulnerabilities. If the Commanders were to win today, what are they going to do to our team to do that?
Well, I think, beyond the obvious turnovers and everything, being outside and being that points are at a premium today, the Commanders haven't won a game where the opposing team scored 24 or more points, right? So they're not a big comeback team. Points are at a premium. Every field goal attempt, every PAT matters. And that's been an area where, outside in the wind, I'm going to be holding my breath every time we kick the ball. Field position is going to be huge, too. We've got to make them go the long field, sustain drives. It's not what they do, right? And play that field position battle, and hopefully our kicking game will come through.
Yeah, well, that's a great point because we just talked about how inefficient they are throwing the ball down the field on a per pass attempt basis. So make them earn every single yard. Pete Bursich, thank you so much. Rosie, Ron, back to you guys in the Twin Cities.
All right, guys, looks a little breezy there. Hopefully Greg Joseph will be on his game today as well for the kicker because we haven't discussed that aspect of what's been going on with Minnesota. Hey, Pete Bursich will take us to the film room to break down the Commanders' defense right after this on Vikings.
You're watching Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Welcome back to another edition of Vikings Film Room, brought to you by the Vikings Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Pete Bursich. Now, the Minnesota Vikings get set to head out east and take on these Washington Commanders, but don't let that 4-4 record fool you. This is going to be one of the best defenses we go against. However, there are some passing opportunities. Let's take a look at the film and see the front that we have to stop and how can we take advantage of them through the air. Now, after taking a dive into this Commanders defense, they're unbelievably talented, but yes, there are passing opportunities, and we're going to start with the opportunities. In this situation, Colts, you see 3 receivers booked, all here piled up in a bunch. Look at the green grass that we're going to see. 2 receivers coming up the field, but they get to the middle, and one of the things that you notice is that these safeties don't get very deep. I mean, this guy, the deep middle safety, is only 14 yards deep. They're counting on that pass rush to get to the quarterback, so he doesn't have time to see his wide receiver streaking down the middle of the field. And as you see, when the ball is let go and when he throws it, this guy is wide open. There are chances for some deep throws for Kirk Cousins in this game. Another opportunity in a 3-out strong passing game. So when you find these trends, it can't just be one play. It's got to be a number of plays. And we're going to see right here, the Colts do take advantage of them this time. But again, 3-out strong. You've got 3 defenders right there, but they have the short route. They have the tight end double covered. They've got a guy on the flat route. The one you got to stop first is this deep route. And at this time, the corner is trailing the wide receiver. There's no backside safety help in this case. Quarterback, though, has time. This is what I mean. Give Cousins some time. He's going to be able to take this down the field, and it's a huge 54-yard reception for the Indianapolis Colts. All right, we saw it twice. How about a third time? Another example, at or near the red zone. 3-out strong again, and this is that same route that the Colts keep doing. Short, middle, deep. Give the quarterback some options. But again, they're focused on this out route. For some reason, the quarterback doesn't see that receiver that's deep. This guy's in a back pedal. There's no way he's going to be able to get back there. This safety is on the hash mark. There's no way he's going to get there. These are some huge, huge plays down the field that are there, and they're there over and over again. In this case, he tries to take it on the short throw, short catch, incompletion, but look what he left on the table. And oh, by the way, it's not just in a 3-out strong type scenario. Again, another long or deep red zone, sometimes they call it. 4 wide receivers. When the quarterback gets to the top of his drop and he's getting ready to throw this football, he's throwing it to the short guy. But look, he has one tight end, all this room out here. Again, 2 guys watching the quarterback jump on the short route. But look at this guy, wide open, right down the middle of the field. There is no way this backside safety can get over the top to get to him. This is a touchdown waiting to happen. He also has an in route down here that's open as well, but he chooses to throw. Cousins has to be able to identify and know middle open, attack the middle of the field. I mean, look at this. He's just wide open right there. That would almost get him into the end zone. Opportunities are out there in the passing game.
A lot of subjects to cover. Stay with us here on Sink or Sail right here on
Minnesota.
This is Vikings Game Day Live, presented by Luther Auto and Mystic Lake.
Hey, Mark and Ron back here at TCO Performance Center. We're going to go back out to FedEx Field as well because it's time for Sink or Sail. Gabe Henderson joining Don Mitchell. And the first topic is going to be Commanders, not the Bills, will snap the Vikings' 5-game winning streak. I'll start with you guys out there.
I'm going to go Sink. All right, Both teams are very gritty. Both teams are very gritty, but I think that the Vikings will definitely pull this one out in a close fashion.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know how close, but I agree.
That says it all, Don. Absolutely right. I'm going to go with Sink. I think Ron does as well. Ron, you feel that the Commanders just don't have what it takes? We know it's going to be a close game. But
I think, and Gabe brought it up on my show earlier this week, too. I think the Commanders have what it takes. Montez Sweat is good. John Allen is good. But when you look at what this team can do as far as the Vikings go, adding a tight end, I think now you've just added another weapon.
Topic number 2, T.J. Hockenson will score a touchdown in his Vikings debut today. Guys?
I'm going with the sell. I'm going with the sell on this. Think about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree. I think Ron does as well.
Oh, yeah. Irv Smith scored. You had Johnny Munt scored. It's like a new toy. Who's not going to play with their new toy on Christmas? He's going to play with his new toy on Christmas. T.J. Hockenson will score.
Dalvin Cook, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. Let's go back to Don and Gabe to get their opinion about that.
I'm going to sink it. This front four of the Washington Commanders, they're very good. I think it's their best front four, the best front four we've played all year. It's going to be tough for Dalvin to get 100. I'm hoping for it, but I don't think it'll happen.
I agree with Gabe on that one. I think an 80, 90-yard game would be fine. They'd accept that if he could score too. But you got. I'm
gonna sink it as well. I just think again, I'm going back to T.J. Hockenson. I think he's gonna do a lot of stuff to try to get up some pop passes, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6. Look for the tight end on the overall. I guess this is a tight end he's excited to try to use.
We saw what happened with Kyler Murray last week. Will Taylor Heineke throw a couple interceptions today? Gabe and Don.
I'm gonna sell that.
Yeah, you got Sink. We kind of have we got Sink, 3 Sinks and a Sale. I mean, maybe Gabe, you're thinking he's going to get a late one. That's what happened last week. It took a while for them, that defense. If the Vikings get a lead, force Heineke to be in those situations, then you're going to have an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be an opportunity. Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
No, you got it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be an opportunity for the Vikings to disguise some coverages. I know we're in like a 20-second delay here, so I know we're probably talking over each other, but Taylor Heineke, I believe, will force some throws across the middle because his Vikings defense has been susceptible. I think we'll have a good day today.
I think there'll be 1 and a couple of takeaways, but not 2.
Yeah.
All right, Don, enjoy the game. Take care of your throat, and hopefully you'll be ready by tonight. And finally, give me 10 seconds. What do you finally think is going to happen, Ron Johnson?
I think this is going to be a Kirk Cousins resurgence game. I think we're going to see what a tight end and Kevin O'Connell's offense really can look like. I'm excited to see how he uses them today.
All right, we got kickoff at noon right here on Fox 9. Reminder, Vikings postgame coming up right afterwards. And at 10:35 tonight, Vikings postgame live. Thanks for joining us on Vikings Game Day Live. Enjoy the game.